Hello, members one and all of the Salivation Nation. What assets make up wealth? And where are gold and silver in the mix? That's right, this is a new chart from Visual Capitalist that diagrams what assets make up wealth and the distribution thereof based off of net worth tiers. It's actually quite interesting to see how this is laid out based off of the different net worth of with various incomes, and how does it differ from the average person with maybe $100,000 in net worth versus that of a billionaire or that of a very poor person. So let's take a look here. On the very top row, we have liquid assets, which is cash, and in this category, we might find gold and silver possibly. And then the primary residence, so your home, and then a vehicle, and then a retirement or a pension, and then life insurance. So that is the green and the reds and the oranges and yellows. And down below, we have business interests. We've got real estate, managed assets or trust, fixed income investments, stocks, mutual funds, and other assets. So very interesting indeed. And we can see here that somebody who has a net worth of $10,000, we see that most of their assets are tied up in a primary residence, which that is a little bit, I'm actually surprised at that, because most people that have this kind of income or this kind of net worth typically are those who rent. They must, unless they live in a very economically depraved area where their residences are worth much less than $10,000. Very interesting indeed. And then vehicles, that make sense. But of course, you know, that's maybe that could be the entire $10,000. And of course, that means if they are living in a shack, and they would have to be, that's about, you know, maybe $3,000 right there. It could also be the security deposit for the rent, and that may be the case there. It probably is. And of course, the vehicle, it would make sense that it would be a larger portion for smaller net worth. So they have a little bit of cash on hand, may have a small retirement or pension, and very little life insurance. But there's a myriad of different things here on this end that are very squeezed here in terms of a business interest, real estate holdings, and managed assets, fixed income, but other assets that are in there may be things like electronic devices and the like. They're very fascinating and interesting to see how that's laid out. Moving on up to what is probably the average. Most of us may fall in this category. I know I do. And that is, you see that primary residence has the largest chunk there. So for those of us who are paying a mortgage, well, there you have it. And that is going to take the largest part. And then obviously the vehicle is going to be much less. And we have the retirement pension, which is almost double that of the person who is $10,000 net worth. And then moving ahead with the other assets here, we can see where they lie. Mutual funds and with slightly more business interest. And as a percentage, we have less liquid cash or other assets on hand. Now, for those of us in the stacking community, precious metals accumulation and the like, we are, for those of us in this community, we would see this line shift over, and we will probably have more than, as a percentage, than the prior level. And I think we would certainly fall in this area because gold and silver are liquid assets. Moving on up, and this, I think from this point, we're going to start to feel a little better about ourselves as a community here, not only because we do hold gold and silver, But also we see as these tiers go up, we can see how things shift. The person who has $1 million in net worth, well, we can see that their primary residence certainly does hold the most of all of these. And then we have the retirement and pension. They're planning for their future, which is good, and it's a larger portion thereof. And the vehicle is a small sliver of that. And they have slightly less liquid assets, but only slightly as a percentage than those making, or those who are worth about $100,000. And we see that they have more business interest here as far as what they hold there. And they also have more real estate. So this would probably fall in the category of a small business owner. That business probably has a net worth that's pretty substantial, which has brought this all up. And so that becomes a larger portion. And maybe that business is on a piece of land that they have bought, maybe, and a building that they are paying a mortgage on. This could also be somebody who is invested in real estate, and they have are renting that out as a form of income. And we can see here that the light green is mutual funds, and they have more involved in that. And so they've well positioned themselves. And this is probably a pretty ideal situation for the small entrepreneurs out there. Now, moving on up, we can see where the trend is going. Someone who is worth $10 million obviously is a business owner. And there you go. They have a lot of this percentage in business interest. And so that squeezes everything else over pretty much proportionally, although we can see here a much smaller space for the primary residence because, well, it's $10 million. And they are probably, this is probably the medium-sized business owner, is my guess. And they have moved up into this net worth level and are probably living relatively modestly, is my guess. But there's a lot of investment into the business. And then we see here that their retirement is actually less because, well, it's all tied up in the business. And that's kind of going to be their retirement when they sell. So very interesting to see that drastic move when you move to the $10 million mark for the net worth, moving down to the $100 million net worth. Most of us, that's something that's kind of out of our realm of consideration. It's kind of hard to us imagine us in that position of wealth. That's pretty incredible. We can see that it just squeezes everything more over much more with the business aspect. This is going to be your large business owner, certainly, and it's all tied up, or about half of it is tied up in the business as far as the net worth is concerned. And these other things with the real estate holdings, with these managed trusts and the like. And very interesting indeed. As you see, the fixed income bracket here is the largest of all the different tiers. So they have found something that pays dividends and is able to pay them through that. And you'll notice these other asset categories here are kind of mixed in their percentages. The largest one being for the person who is worth $10,000, but the next largest size is those who was $100 million. That other asset, I would say, is probably luxury items, things that do depreciate in value, such as automobiles. And we can see that the automobile level, the vehicles, this is the second small sliver compared. The 10 million is the next smallest slice there for vehicles, which are depreciating assets. They're very interesting indeed to see this thing. But you think about it, these business interests. Think about this slice here as not only enriching them, but this portion here is that which also stimulates the economy. Business stimulates the economy, and that's what that is. And so that's what's fascinating and about this is contributing to the economy, which essentially helps this guy. and this guy, these people here. And I think that's part of why these business interests are a factor up here, is because it's directly affecting them. Although it's a much smaller portion, I do believe that in time that this could help grow overall and bring these numbers up. Moving next down the line to the highest category is the $1 billion mark. Very interesting indeed. Fascinating to see this, where the business interest is well over half. This is a large business owner, a nation, a franchise, a nationwide, nationally recognized business. A person in this category is economically savvy and is able to earn a lot of money. And but you'll notice through all these things, the liquid assets become these smaller and smaller as they go down, and everything else is squeezed out. But the stocks, options, and investments have increased going down, and those are all paper assets. And so they have the liquid assets, the things of real value, as a percentage of their income, is the smallest sliver here. Very interesting indeed. And here we see some of the definitions of some of these other portions here of the most important things here. But it's very fascinating to see. And with that being said, this small little slice is worth obviously much more than the entirety of all of these, probably both of these combined. But with that being said, for this person, the multi-billionaire, unless they really are savvy about precious metals and their worth, it's quite possible that somebody in this category may have less gold and silver than you and I do. You just don't know. Some people may or may not believe in it, but obviously these persons are economically savvy. But that is a possibility, and certainly with the great percentage-wise of their assets here laid out on this chart, it's obvious that most of their holdings are over here in their business interests, and less over here. By a percentage of their income, it's clear that they hold much less as a percentage than you and I do. So take heart in that, and that you have something of value when you hold precious metals. So I hope this video helps, and quite an interesting and informative infographic here. And I hope you enjoyed it. I'd like to extend a multitude of gratitude to you all for watching, and encourage you to please rate, comment, and subscribe.